The next speaker we have today is Charles Sells. Charles, who probably sells real estate in addition to other things, is specializing in tax liens all the way up to multi-million-dollar flips. And he's going to talk about distressed real estate, something that we're seeing more and more of. So without further delay, Charles, please go ahead and hit share screen and start your presentation. You are enabled.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me just get my screen up here for you. All right, we're up there, right, Dave?
You are good to go.
All right, fantastic. Again, thanks everybody. Eddie, great presentation. Man, you nailed it right down to the minute there. That was really impressive. I hope I can do the same.
Thank you.
So what we're talking about today is I'm just going to give you guys a shotgun bird shot, if you will, of what we do. Essentially, we offer passive investments in distressed real estate, as Dave said. And the theme of our presentation today is everybody's been a little scared with good reason with what's going on. But our business has been going gangbusters right now. We've been buying like crazy. Tax sales are really good with a lot more volume. They've put a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures, but the property tax sales still keep going as they are. So let's just jump right into it. I began investing in distressed real estate at the age of 23. Today's my birthday. I'm 47 today, so I've officially been doing it a little more than half my life. By the time I was 26 and with $4,000 and a couple of investors, I got my start in real estate. It was in tax liens, and we still do tax liens. But now we've really grown to really anything that is single family or multifamily. I'm sorry, anything but commercial in the distressed real estate space. So we provide a wide range of services to both individual and institutional investors. For institutional investors, we're more or less like an auditing property. We essentially are a third party that comes in and does an audit to make sure their books are all on the up and up. Obviously, the taxing business has a lot of institutional investors as well. So we cater to anyone between $50,000 up to doing those audits for companies that are worth more than $150 million. We're an industry leader. We're well known in the industry. If you go to, I always like to say, I probably should come up with a new term, but we always say that the real estate business, although it's so big, it's very incestuous. Everyone seems to know everyone that is actually doing business in the business. So you do run across a lot of the same names when you attend a virtual event like this or a live event like this. So again, I've been doing it for 23 years. I pulled this slide from another presentation because I'm going to hit on recession-proof investing a little bit. Eddie was talking about, is it coming? It could come. Is it going to be as bad as it was before? For right now, we just don't know. We're going through something we've never seen before. But what I've really learned to love is what we're going through. If you followed me, what I've been saying for the last 5 years while we've been enjoying a nice market is starting to ring true. So when this COVID happened, I really had to put my money where my mouth was. So far, so good. So why PIP Group? Again, it's investing passively. So we're doing all the work for you. Obviously, we've got a lot of experience. And as I touched on in the industry, we've got a really good reputation in the industry. We are BBB accredited. I used to consider that a pay-to-play type of platform, if you will. But with the Yelps, the Googles, and everything else that's out there, it just takes one ticked-off contractor to post some bad reviews about you. So BBB actually does a pretty good job of eliminating that out there. Versatility. We're going to touch on versatility a little bit more. And what I mean by versatility is we can do things with you that you may not be able to do or have the knowledge base to do on your own. And again, we'll give you an example, but I'm going to give you an example of what happened today. Today, we've had a couple break-ins on one property, and we discovered that one of our really good longtime contractors or project managers, if you will, is the one that's been doing the breaking in. So you know, that can happen to anybody. It's very easy to take advantage of people in this business, especially at the contractor level. Essentially what he was doing is he was buying materials and then reporting them as stolen, selling them or returning them to Home Depot or other store vendors, and then charging them back to us. That's something that could put, you know, a first-time investor out of business. When you're working with PIP, that becomes our responsibility, obviously. So an investor or a client of ours isn't even going to know that story that I just told you. And he's probably on here, so he will know that story on Monday. But that's an example of, you know, giving yourself a little umbrella, if you will, to be able to be involved in this business and this industry, but have some extra layers of protection with it as well. We say that we're the biggest player in our market. That's not the real estate entire market. We're talking about specifically where we're doing buy and holds and fix and flips. So we'll get into that right now. So we're going to talk about what's going on with the markets. Again, everyone's got their own opinion. They're all over the place. Even myself I have come around from what I said in August to where I'm at now, but we'll look at that in just a second. Where our focus is and why, again, where our market is and why we're in that market. And again, I invite you to go watch Recession-Proof Investing, and we're going to touch on it a little bit today, but there's just not going to be enough time to cover it all. Fix and flip, and then we got fix and flow. So essentially, fix and flow is buy and hold. I just like the catchy term. I thought it fit. So we're talking about buying and holding and cash flowing those investments. And then we're going to talk about leveraging hard money with PIP's experience. This is something that we literally pioneered between March and now, working with one of the largest hard money lenders. As this crisis was unfolding, we had a conversation and said, hey, this is horrible, but it's gonna be great for business. You know, going back to the last recession, what really got us out of the hole was private money. And those hard money lenders made a lot of money. Because there was a lot of inventory. A barrier for a lot of investors is that you have to have experience in flipping homes. So we came up with a strategy of, you know, how do you let new investors into this great opportunity who have no experience? Well, if you partner with PIP, you get that experience. So you get those rates. We're going to illustrate that a little more in just a second. And then the last thing, we're going to talk about tax liens. Again, tax sales are going on like crazy right now. Right now, we're only in the state of Illinois. Because of COVID, the tax sale season, which normally runs from beginning of October, for the most part, middle of December, there's a few stragglers that go after the new year. But this year, because of COVID, almost all the tax sales have been spread out so far that is increased our ability to spend in the state if you're interested in investing in tax liens. So when or will the housing market crash? The not so fun facts is during our last recession, peak unemployment was 10%. 2020, we hit 14.7, so almost a 50% increase. And the average today is 6.9%, or at least it was when I looked at this slide. Now, we've heard Biden talk about a K recovery. We've heard others talk about Y. We've heard talk about, you know, I can't even remember which one's Trump's is, but the V shape. Either way, no matter what, no matter how you slice this pie, there's 1 in 6 businesses, small businesses, going out of business every day. And this is going to continue for a while. There's really no amount of money that you could print that is going to protect us from some sort of correction. I do agree rates are going to stay low. And that's going to be great, but there's going to be an influx of inventory, which again makes an influx of opportunity. Now, back in August, I pulled this New York mortgage data shows U.S. housing market is crashing. Now, that's not just New York's housing market, which yes, it is crashing, but this was their headline for the entire country. That was in August. And since then, what we have seen is that the market is absolutely booming. Everybody is leaving the big cities. There more people are working from home. That's not going to change. People are adjusting, and things are happening that'll be, a permanent change on how we go to work or not go to work. So the Southeast and a lot of other areas are absolutely just seeing an enormous boom. As Redfin CEO said, it's absolutely insane, and we can attest to that. In April, we had 17 closings in 1 week. That was right after the end of the national shutdown. Now, the bottom one, I have competitive low country housing markets show no signs of slowing. Where I live is Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, and that is the low country. Just south of me is Savannah, Georgia, which is where we're doing all our investments. So they're seeing the exact same thing we're seeing. Now, if you've been following me, and I know some of you have, I have for the last 5 years have said Savannah's market is doing exactly what Charleston's market did in the last recession. And that's where we come up with this recession-proof investing, if you will. I pulled this slide off on Thursday, and Charleston, because they have such a low inventory, but everybody's moving south, they've almost doubled their home values since all of this started. Number 3 out of 10 in the opportunity zones for Q3 2020. So people are moving to the Southeast and some of these other areas as well. But almost, I would say probably 1 in 5 houses that we have sold during this pandemic has been somebody to the Northeast, usually from New York, because they do have such crazy tax rates, and they're going to have to go higher to get themselves to bail out. So everybody's moving south. We sold our house during this pandemic, and I sold it to a young guy, software guy from New York, and he said, why would I live in a 500 square foot, $750,000 apartment when I can move down here, have warm weather 9 months out of the year, and live on a golf course with a pool? And that's the mentality of a lot of what's going on in the country right now. Everybody's going to the suburbs and to warmer weather. So we have other webinars out there. Again, why Savannah? I'm not going to dig too deep, but again, Charleston, recession-proof. Essentially what they did and how they did so well during the last recession is MUSC and Boeing were primarily MUSC was building that's Medical University of South Carolina, was essentially buying all the dilapidated buildings in and around the downtown area and converting those into the campus. Savannah is doing the exact same thing now. If you'd asked me if Savannah was a good market to invest into 6 years ago, I would have told you no way. If you asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, yep, and that's why we're there. And that's why we are the biggest buyer. They're doing exactly the same thing that Charleston did. But Savannah actually has more things going for it than Charleston did. Our port is the biggest in the country now. There's a lot of things happening. So we're at the beginning cusp of this process. And we're buying as fast as we possibly can in and around the Savannah area. So that gives us power in numbers. Each one of these little houses you see here is a property that we have bought and either bought and rehabbed or bought and have it on our books to be rehabbed since March 15th. And there's more than this. This is just the 2 concentrated areas. We're turning about 2 to 3 properties a week. That is on target for what we wanted to be doing in 2021. When we had these conversations with the hard money lenders and said, we really need to ramp this up. How can we pioneer a process that enables us to do that? So we're literally introducing it to you guys today. It's the first anyone's heard of it. We're just now getting it off the ground. So hope you come along for the ride. So let's talk about fix and flips. What I'm going to do is to try to keep this simple. I'm going to use the same property in every single one of these examples. So we're going to talk about fix and flips. We're going to talk about buy and holds or fix and flows. We're going to talk about leveraging money. what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this same property so we can understand the nuances and the differences. Now, I did hear ADL say, he doesn't like old properties. He likes new properties. I like old properties. I see a lot of value in dilapidated properties. Yes, there are some issues you may run into with the old cast iron pipes, but that's something that you address when you tear these things apart anyhow. So it's all part of the process. It's all about updating. So this one clearly wasn't updated since it was built in the 70s. You can see the good green shag carpet there. The old vanities and old style. Look at that Clorox and that Lysol sitting there. That's like liquid gold now. Didn't even realize that was in there. So this is what we turn it into. We don't do crazy things. We just fix them up and make them look good. So this is your before and after. With the properties that we primarily focus on, we're not looking for upgraded finishes. You can see in this one that we're using Formica countertops rather than granite. This thing stayed on the market 2 days once we had it listed, and it was during all of this crisis that was going on. You can probably find more details about it on our website, actually. So this is the transformation we took it through. I'm not going to show you guys these again. We're just going to look at the main picture, but I wanted you to see that. This is the garage, the back of the house. Remember I mentioned versatility. Well, when this investor got into this, and when we got him into this, we didn't quite know how to address the garage. Do you keep it a garage and pour a driveway and just slap some lipstick on it and call it a day, or what are you going to do with it? As an investor with PIP, we may make decisions on your behalf if we think that we can invest our own dollar and make $3 out of it. So we're not going to come to the investor in a lot of circumstances like this one and say, hey, we need you to deploy more capital. We're going to take this property and do something else with it. And what we essentially did with it, we closed it up and we made it a mother-in-law suite, adding that $3 to every dollar we invested into the property. So that's the kind of versatility you can get when you're investing passively with a company like PIP. So it's a very nice in-law suite, modern shower, typical laminate floors, same color paints we use in every single property. That keeps it quick, easy. Every single one of our contractors has the same color. So if we send one back to fix something, everything's going to match up. So when we look at the breakdown of it, this was an actual flip, and it shows you the total paid, total investment was, what the total proceeds were, and the cash on cash return on this one was 17%. So he made 17% on it, pretty good return based on what was there and our additional investment into the property. If you really looked at it annualized, he probably did better than that because it was our investment into the mother-in-law suite. So that money was never played with him. So that's how that worked. So using the same property, sorry, I've got allergies down here in the South. It's 80 degrees outside, so I'm a little rusty. Using the same property, let's just hypothetically look at what we could do with this in a fix and flow scenario. So again, total pay was $134,000 and some change. And so what that we can come out to that, I saw a question in ADL's what a good cap rate was, and he's right. It's a term that's been taken from commercial, but we can apply it to some things. We always like to be a little bit above average in everything we do, meet or exceed expectations, if you will. Because this has an in-law suite, again, you've got some options as an investor if you're going to cash flow this. You could rent the main house to one tenant, and you could rent the back property to another tenant. Now, for a difference of approximately 70%, or I'm sorry, 0.7%, I would probably stick with one tenant on this particular property. But again, these are good cap rates. These are better than average, which is where you want to be. We'll show you average in a minute. So this is one we're actually working on right now. as you can see, it's starkly different than what the ADL was referring to, but this is our bread and butter. We absolutely love this sort of thing. I took this picture yesterday actually, and we're almost there. We're almost done. We're almost fully rehabbed. Now, what I love about this is, the investment's high. The gross rent is good. There's 16 bedrooms in this house, 16 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms. So it's a quadruplex. It's a 4-2 quadruplex. So every one is identical. One upstairs, one downstairs, one right, one left. So the cap on this is 12.16%, all in on your investment. Because we're in Savannah and because we're in the areas that we're in, we can take advantage of historical tax credits on rehab costs. So the map on the right side of the screen, you see all our properties in there. Every one of those is a historical rehab. Savannah being what they call the first city, they offer a lot of good incentives to keep the properties the way they are. So first you get a 25% state tax credit. Then you get a 20% federal tax credit. Then you get an 8-year pre-rehab tax assessment freeze. So if we bought it for $232,000, but let's say the city says it was worth $130,000, that's what you're going to pay the taxes on for the next 8 years. So without even taking that 8-year pre-rehab cost into consideration, you're getting a tax credit back as long as you use it as a buy and hold. You're getting a tax credit back on your repair costs of $151,200 on this particular investment. That's awesome. So that 12% cap has essentially gone up by another 45% due to these tax credits. So a little extra nugget I just threw in there. Not everything we do is historical rehab, but again, we're talking about ways to invest in any kind of market and be protected in doing so. So leveraging hard money with PIP's experience. This is so new. We don't even have the introductory webinar with the hard money company we're doing this with set up yet. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be the week of December 14th. I believe it's going to be the Thursday of that week. Where we'll discuss essentially just the basics of how this works. But I'm going to break that down for you anyhow. So again, back to the same leverage property. Now we're going to leverage this property. And I probably should slow down a little bit unless we get a ton of questions. The standard rules of engagement for using hard money. I'm not saying all of them are like this, but across the board, they're going to be somewhere along these lines. You got to have a FICO score of 650 or better. You have to have recent success in flipping homes. So you have to have had already done it. Sometimes I know some of them are 5 to 10 homes. So it's a huge barrier of entry for a lot of people. And that's like I said, when March 15th hit and I had the phone call with the CEO of this hard money lender, I said, we got to open these doors. This is huge opportunity for us, but we got to open these doors. It's got to be more than just accredited investors that can take advantage of this, or, guys like me that have been doing it for 20 years that can take advantage of this. So the rates vary. Once the market crashed, hard money became a little difficult to get your hands on. It still could, but they did start adding points to it. It's leveled itself out a bit more since, but a newbie is going to pay closer to the high end of this. It may not be 16%, but it'll definitely be 10%, and that's okay. And the example we're going to show you, that's fine, but it's going to be costly. So we're essentially, by working with PIP, we're taking down that barrier of your lack of experience, if you will, to get you in the door and be able to start, instead of buying one for $100,000, now you can deploy that into 2 or 3 because you're using hard money. Repair costs are often reimbursed after they've been completed. So essentially you have to have the money down, which is the 20% loan ratio, plus you have to have the repair costs. So those repair costs, those funds aren't going to be tied up too terribly long. What they do is we get in there, we make the repairs, we submit it to the hard money lender, and we essentially say, okay, hey, send in your third party appraisal guy, inspector, and usually they're a licensed inspector. They come in, say, yep, repair's been done. Hard money lender sends you the money back. So that's how that works. So I've touched on why partnering with PIP. We have industry recognition with hundreds of flips, hundreds and hundreds of flips. You can leverage our success for better rates. You know, so your rates are going, there's a variety of flexible loan terms. So a lot of the companies are getting more creative. So if there's more experience involved, you can actually borrow in some cases with no points up front, which could be 1% of the loan value. That's usually typical for any loan. You could do no points up front, a higher on the back. So it just gives you a lot more flexibility in what you want to do and how you want to strategize this. Because again, you're not investing in a fund. This is your investment. You're just doing it passively with our help. So that brings your rates down from 6.5 to 16 to anywhere from 6 to 9. Plus, we have a lot more skin in the game at this stage. So literally everything we do is based off the performance of your investment. So if we're not performing for you, we're not making any money either. So with PIP having more skin in the game, obviously we're working to your benefit to keep things low, keep costs down, everything that we do on behalf of our investors. All right, so this is a very important slide, the power of leverage. So using the same example, we said it was 134,000 and some change. So let's just round that up to 135,000. You're going to put 27, you're going to put 27, you're going to put 20% down. So that's going to be $27,000. So again, we've just broken that barrier of entry. Maybe your only investment amount is $50,000. That's all you have. So on a $100,000 investment, $135,000 investment, we've made that a reality for you. So your loan amount then is $108,000. You're going to carry it for 13 months in this example at the highest rate, and I'm just using this again as a hypothetical, at the highest rate of 9%. That's going to be interest only. So you're going to be into that for an extra $10,530. So your total out-of-pocket investment is $37,530. Now remember, I just told you your repair costs have to come out of pocket. So you're going to need that repair cost money to come out of pocket. And then once it's inspected, it comes back. So you do have to consider that. But let's say you did only have roughly $50,000 to work with. You can do that in $15,000 increments. So you put in $15,000 of work, you get that inspected, get it back, put in another $15,000 of work, get it inspected, put it back until it's done. So the net sales price of this was $164,450. The net profit was $29,450. Again, roughly, because I rounded up the numbers. So your cash on cash return on this now becomes, because you use the power of leverage, 78.47%. And if you're using PIP along with you on the side, cut that number in half because we're sharing. We're doing all the sweat equity. You're capitalizing it. So we're splitting that 50-50. Now, this slide is very blurry, but I wanted to use it because Linda came up with this great lead in for me, multi-million. This is the biggest investment we've ever done. We didn't do it on behalf of clients. We did it on behalf of my wife and I, but this gives you a really, really good illustration of the power of leverage. On this multi-million-dollar deal, our total cash investment was $649,000. That's a lot of money to most people, but we still used the leverage to do it, and we made a 98.97% profit on the amount of money that we had invested into it. We made a cash on cash net return of $642,000 on our $649,000 investment. If it had been an all cash deal, it still would have been above average. It would have been 26.6%. Still a great investment, but the power of leverage is phenomenal, and it's something a lot of people are scared of. because they don't really understand all the nuances that go on with it. So hopefully this kind of helps you understand what that means. Now I'm going to jump way off to the other side. We've talked about cash flow, rehab, fix and flow, fix and flip, using leverage to do all three of those. Let's talk about tax liens. I told you that's where I got my start, was in tax liens. That's what I did for the first 13 years of my career, was invest in tax liens all over the country. Thanks to the internet and technology, it pushed the opportunity of investing in tax liens way down. So we only invest in Illinois at this point. Once tax sales went online, it obviously became very administratively cost effective for the counties. You didn't have to have these live events anymore. But what that also did is it created enormous amounts of competition. Florida used to be a great state for us. They paid 5% on a penalty, and you could get it for as much as 18% on that particular lien per year. Once they went online, that rate dropped to less than 1/4%. Instead of having 50 bidders at a tax sale, crying out their bids, now you've got 500 because it's all online. So you've got people from all over the world able to do this now. So Illinois, so far, thankfully, even with everything going on, is one of the few states that has provided a really good rate of return and has a legislation that has essentially said you have to show up for the sale. Now, we do have another webinar. Again, I'm just giving you a shotgun look at what we do. I would invite everybody to go to the Illinois Tax Liens No Hype webinar, where I dissect a lot of this stuff. I literally have pulled this from I'm not going to call them competitors' websites because it's not competitive, but these are things that they literally put on their websites and get you to believe it. Turn $20,000 into $20 million in 1 year. That's literally on somebody's website. That's not going to happen. They say you'll earn 8 to 25% government guaranteed, or you receive a free and clear tax deed. First of all, tax deeds are not free and clear. Second of all, government guarantees nothing but taxes. So there's a lot more involved in it than that. It sounds too good to be true, but it's the law, sort of, but we really take the hype out of what the reality is. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking tax liens. Again, it's a great investment if you know what you're doing, but it does have a lot more involved to it than what you have probably ever seen or read. So what are tax liens? And you'd be surprised how many people have no clue. One of our biggest investors had no idea what they were 5 years ago. So essentially, tax liens are your property taxes. You don't pay them, they're gonna get sold to investors like us. Each county relies on those property taxes to pay for the schools, the EMS, the police, et cetera, et cetera. They have to meet that budget no matter what. So they incentivize investors like us to purchase and make that budget happen by giving us really good rates of return. Process, regardless of where you are, it starts out pretty simple. Depending on the state, it can get very complicated in the background, but essentially they become delinquent, they're advertised for sale, they go to auction. There's a state legislative period of redemption that they have to redeem those taxes. Depending on the state, once that period expires, they no longer have the right to pay those taxes and you can foreclose on them. That's not the case in Illinois. So then you go through a foreclosure, quiet title action, you own the property. Now, depending on how long you've been with us or you've been following me, because I know some of you out there are, I've always said that Illinois is a great redemption state for tax liens. By that, I mean that when you invest in tax liens in Illinois, almost all of the liens are going to redeem. I've reversed course on that because Illinois has notoriously one of the highest property taxes now in the country. So it's becoming a great cash flow state. So you still get really good high redemptions, The play now is that you're going to get a lot of redemptions, but you're going to have to consider foreclosure as well. Maximum bids in Illinois are 18%. But what makes it so cool is that if you buy it at 18%, let's say I won't go to a tax sale on Monday and I buy a lien for $1,000. If that guy comes in to pay his taxes, if I bought that thing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he comes in at 4 o'clock to pay those taxes, he owes me $180 on the spot. So he's going to go in, he's going to pay those taxes to the county tax collector, and we're going to earn 18% right then and there. So it's not a prorated tax amount, it's a penalty. What makes Illinois so much more attractive is whatever we buy it at. If we buy it at 18, that becomes 36 in 6 months and a day. If we bought it at 12, that becomes 24 in a month and a day. That goes on and on and on for up to 3 years. Again, we are a service provider, not a fund. So you could retain 100% ownership of your investment in tax liens. We're essentially just doing all the ugly labor, hard work that is involved in investing in tax liens for you. Average timeline is 3 to 4 years. That actually was done by my marketing director. I would say it's closer to 3 to 5. Because again, you're going to have some foreclosures. You're going to have to make some decisions. And if you want to sell that property, which I wouldn't recommend anymore, I think it's a great cash flow state, you're going to be in it for 5 years to get there. Weighted purchase average. That's the rate that we average when we buy the tax lien. So even though they're 36%, the weighted purchase average when those are redeemed in your portfolio is going to be closer to 24%. Because we're not buying everything at the max rate. This is an internal report that I'm a visual guy, that just kind of visually shows you how that process works and how I'm going to use the term compounding works on a lien. If you look at the top one, certificate number ends in 42. The investment on that was $707. We got it for 15% bid rate, so 30% per year penalty, and the redemption total of $1,532. So that was redeemed literally at the last minute, at the max rate at the time. And if you go through some of these, you can see we don't know what the justification is. I've done hundreds of thousands of tax liens to this day. Why people wait until the absolute last minute to pay their taxes? Because by that point, they're literally double what they were when we bought them. But this is just an internal report, shows you the breakdown of how this works. You've got investment to value ratio is 2 to 3%. The property values, they look extremely low, and that is because we intentionally discount them. The reason we do that is because it's distressed real estate. Stuff's probably going to happen between now and the time we actually get the property. But look at those small values. That means when we get into them, we're going to be overperforming again, essentially. And the cash flows on the ones we do foreclose on are going to be great. This is the performance analysis report. I'm only showing this to you again because I want you to go to our other presentation, which is Illinois Tax Liens No Hype. On paper, this looks like a outstanding investment. What this report does not take into consideration is you have to foreclose, and the number of foreclosures is going up. So there's going to be costs involved with that. So go take a look at that presentation. Everything I do is free. So I'm not inviting you to go hook in and spend $100 on the presentation. Everything we do is free as far as education is concerned. But on paper, it looks really good, but you've got to consider there's going to be foreclosure coming down the pipeline. Now, when you get through foreclosure, it looks really good. These are the folks, this is a small snapshot of what we have in one county. The investor has been in it for a little while and he's just ready to offload these. But look at the cap rate on these. On one of them, I had it highlighted before, but on one of them, the net cap is 24%. National average is 8.4%. So investing in Illinois tax liens is great. But you do have to consider that you are going to take title to some properties. Those properties are going to need some repairs, and the end goal is not going to be to resell in the state of Illinois. It is not a flip market whatsoever. The goal is turn it cash flow. And if you look at these total investments, they're all no higher than the highest one, $74,000, and you're making bank on a cash flow on a property like that. They're on the smaller side, but you know you're not a landlord. They're managed locally, and if there are any problems, they're sent through us. So again, even when it becomes a property, it's still a passive investment on your behalf. All right, coming up to the end, minimum investment and fees. For fix and flips, it's $100,000. That's just all cash in. So if we're not talking about leverage here, we're talking about all cash in. We charge an acquisition fee, which is often just a pass-through. When you buy a property at auction.com, they're charging a buyer premium on that property. So you're going to pay 5% in some cases. So our acquisition fee, depending on the plan you come in under, is going to be anywhere from 3% to 6% of the purchase price of the property. Not the total investment, just the purchase price of the property. So if we got it for $20,000, that's what your acquisition fee is. Performance bonus is on the backside. Once we sell the property, we get 25% to 35% of the net profits. Again, that is based on the model or the plan that you came in under. Good economy, bad economy. For those that got in early in 2020, we have a performance promise of 16% net annualized return. So that means if we have it for 3 months, or if we have it for 15 months, we're promising a net annualized return of 16%. In March, coincidentally, right as March Madness came around, we used that as a kind of a marketing kicker. We said March Madness, everybody gets 20% net return for 2020. We've backed off that a little bit. We haven't fallen under that, but with everything going on, we kind of had to eat our words on that a little bit. I got that slide in the wrong spot. Okay, fix and flow. Again, all cash in. It's the same. It's $100,000. That's probably going to get you 1 or 2 properties. Acquisition fees higher because we're getting out sooner. We're not taking a percentage of your profits anymore. We're still making sure that your renovation is low, and we are making some money on that. The performance promise on that is that we're getting you out the door with a 12% gross, so you're at least above the average return when you get to the other side. Leveraging, this is my favorite. I hope everybody jumps all over this because leveraging is I think is the way we're all going to do a lot better. Leveraging, it's 100K. That's not my number. That is RCN's number. But we can break that down into, say, 3 different properties. So you're getting 3 properties into that. We are still in negotiations to bring that number down even further because we are doing so much volume that they should accept us at all levels, essentially. But we have to launch this program and this concept and get its wheels in motion and see what happens. The way this works is it's a JV formation with PIP. Literally, we're partners, 50-50. You're the capital, we're the sweat equity. So we're going to keep costs as low as we possibly can because the only way we make money is if you make money. So that's essentially how this works. Now, the question comes up, well, why don't you just do this for yourself? We do. But we have, with hard money, we have a $4 million credit line, and we exhaust that on behalf of our own investments. So we see Savannah growing so fast, and we're buying so fast, and we're flipping so fast, and the demand is so strong. We want to continue to be the controlling force in the Savannah market. We're bigger than anybody else out there in that particular market, and we want to continue to grow in that direction. For tax liens, it's a little bit lower. It's $75,000. The acquisition fee is 8% of the purchase price. and then there's a management fee of 2%. So the only way we really make money in tax liens anymore is on the backside of the investment. Once we get through the foreclosure, we're taking a position of the rents, not from you, but actually from the property manager. So we get 25% of his fee. So obviously requires a lot of volume, but that's essentially where we make that money. There's a lot of overhead with tax liens. So this 8%, 2% is pretty much washed in all of that. Drawing to the end, my charity is Wounded Warrior Project. We're doing something huge with this. And again, it's just, get off your A and give and invest. Become a client before December 15th. For every $500 you donate, I will credit you $2,000 in fees. That's across the board, regardless of what our investments are. If it's a JV deal, I will put up $2,000 or up to $6,000 in the capital expenses for that investment, or we take it off the backside. So woundedwarriorproject.org. For every $500 you spend, I'll give you $2,000 in credits if you become a new client of ours, or if you're an existing client, this applies to you as well. That is it for me. And I know Lena has been taking questions on the sideline, but Dave, if you have any.
Great presentation, Charles.
Hey, Linda, how are you?
Great. I'm just jumping in here. Dave, do you see any questions for Charles?
Lena has been covering the questions that we had so far.
Okay.
We have a few more minutes, so please jump in with additional questions. And let's pick Charles' brain. He's got a heck of a program here and an amazing charity, one that is near and dear to my heart as well. So let's make sure we get those questions answered. And in the interim, I would ask you just tell us, what is the craziest fix and flip that you've seen so far?
That's funny because that literally happened yesterday. We've seen it all. We've seen, we've had deceased people in properties we've gone into. We've seen it all, but we had a hoarder that we got out recently through a foreclosure, and it was so bad when we first went to the property. You couldn't get in a door or through a window because there was so much stuff in there. We finally got one of our contractors out there after 3 dumpster loads on a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. We finally were able to walk around. It was the most disgusting thing I had ever seen. They found 6 dead cats, 2 rats, mold issues that, when we walked up, we've gotten pretty, we call it's joking, but we say it's got that fresh foreclosure smell. And our contractors, they literally handed us N95 masks and said, you cannot go in there without these, and gave us our last 2. So that has been to date the most bizarre. It was just a mess. It was a mess. And from the street view, you would never in a million years seen it. But we've seen a lot of things. We've seen a lot of good things. We've seen some bad things. One of the reasons I do like the historical rehabs is because they're like a time capsule. They've probably been had some kind of addition or repair or something since they were built in the 1900s. And so when you pull out the wall, you find newspaper clippings and that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool that we get to do that. But yeah, as far as the craziest, that we're living it as we speak. I wish I could pull the pictures up, but it'd probably make some people sick after lunch.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to go there. But, can you walk us through a couple of current live deals that you're working on the fix and flip side?
Yeah, so we're literally under contract right now for I believe 18 properties within a 3-block radius in Savannah. And with that, I didn't really get to touch on it, but one of the things about what we do is we're literally transforming streets at a time. And when you do that, you can ask more for the property than, say doing them one at a time. So you have something that should have been a comp of $90,000. Well, now you've got 4 of them, all repaired, all updated and modernized. So now you can ask more like 140, which is essentially what we're doing. That quadruplex I showed you, we have probably 6 properties within 100 yards of it. So when you start, when appraisers come in and start doing their comps, they're using our other properties for their comps. So it's a great method of taking advantage of all the resources that we have to offer and the volume that we have to offer.
Let's see here. How many deals have you completed in the last year?
We're on track for 2020 to be at right about 120.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you
like I said,
sourcing your own?
we're the biggest operation in Savannah, and there's a lot of reasons why we're in Savannah. And again, that's why I recommend people go look. Hopefully now with COVID, people have learned that investing in your backyard is not always an option. And again, Savannah wasn't an option to us 6 years ago, only because of a lot of things that the local government has done, expanding the ports has done. The SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, is buying up the city, so we're buying all the dilapidated properties around what they're buying. So then they become the renter or the family's homes, or they're rentable. Lots of different options we can do with them at that point. But there are other things I didn't talk about, which is like dream maker programs. There's just layers upon layers upon layers of protections, if you will, if the bottom just falls out of the market, which I don't think it's going to. Again, we're seeing a lot of people moving down and in. Savannah is for the last 14 years has been the #4 family destination in the country. So a lot of people are taking the opportunity to move down to their vacation spot, if you will, because everybody's going online. I mean, look at what we're doing here. This is, I miss live events. I miss getting on airplanes, but it's the way of the future, I think.
Have you found any issues with permitting and the restoration projects?
We did as the initial shutdown started. Savannah at that point had 2 permitting officers and 3 code enforcement officers. Because everyone seems to have jumped at revitalizing the city, it's gotten better. Now, if we do these historical rehabs, it does take longer. You have to go through a lot more processes. You have to put in certain windows, that sort of thing. So those do take longer. But I mean, it slowed us down probably for 3 months, but we're back up to speed now, running on all cylinders.
Do you rehab commercial properties?
Only if they can be converted into residential. Yeah, I think the commercial space is headed for a really hard struggle. Again, we saw it when the markets were good. Everybody's, look at strip malls, look at actual malls. The commercial space is unfortunately, dying a quicker death than I think they even thought they were going to see.
Lena, do you have any questions that you've answered already that may be appropriate to answer out loud? Please unmute and let us know.
Yes.
Lena on Charles's team has been doing a phenomenal job of answering questions for the last half an hour.
Hi, guys. I think the questions have been really good. So I just mentioned a few things. Savannah is our primary market. We also flip in Beaufort County, South Carolina, where our main office is, and our home, which is primarily Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. This market is quite a bit different just because of the investment amounts. There is not a whole lot of foreclosures. So if there is a few, there's going to be, 500K plus. So we do usually, if we do those, it's going to be with really seasoned investors that have been with us for quite a long time. But other than that, again, it's pretty simple. It's a simple contract that we have. The updates are going to be that the longest part is securing the property. Once we open the door into that property, it's really simple and it's really transparent and fast, where you could see the updates moving, at phenomenal speed. But yeah, I think Charles covered everything pretty well.
Cool. Charles, do you have any closing remarks? We've got about another minute or so, and then we'll bring Linda back up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity, Linda, as always. Again, I really want to be able to contribute to this Wounded Warrior project. So, we've gone big. That's how good Savannah's doing right now, and that's how good our cash flows or our flips are going right now. We are performing so well that we're happy to contribute, as well as give that back to you guys for doing so. We're confident that we're going to keep everything moving at record-breaking pace. As Lana said, now once we get in the front door, we are so streamlined that it's about 30 days in that from the time we open that front door until we put a for sale sign in the yard, that we're turning these properties. So it is truly a fast flip. We got bogged down with COVID, but we're back in the game now.
Very good. Well, Charles, I enjoyed your presentation. I love your charity. And without further delay, I'd like to bring Linda